We're keeping score. House Republicans famous this year for getting nothing done in Washington. But they did manage to get two things done this week, neither of which helps Americans, and both of which were a colossal waste of time. One, a committee recommendation to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of court for refusing to release audio tapes from special counsel Hur's interviews with President Biden. And I'm going to correct myself, not contempt of court, but contempt of Congress. And the second, allowing Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene to insult two of her fellow lawmakers with impunity. Here's some of the exchange between Greene and Representatives Jasmine Crockett and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about AG.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person?
Are your feelings hurt?
Her words down. Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
You're not.
Yeah, you're not. You don't have enough intelligence.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Joining me now is Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, member of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee. Jasmine, I'm going to give you a 10, gold medal for that alliteration. It was pretty amazing. But look, Congresswoman, you responded on social media after that dust up we just played, saying in part, this is what happens when mentally deficient people who can't read and follow rules or just don't give a damn somehow end up in Congress. Now that the dust has settled a little bit, do you have any other thoughts you'd like to share for your fellow Congresswoman, Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Don't come for me. That is all that I need to tell her. Don't come for me. Listen, you know, we showed up ready to work, and unfortunately, we could not have our hearing at 11 o'clock, even though this is a pointless hearing and it's ridiculous in and of itself that we needed to have it. But we showed up. They're in the majority. They set the agenda. This is what they want to do. This is what they believe is a priority for the American people. And they decided that they would skip work and go to New York to be involved in Trump's trial. And so then we get back at 8 p.m. and instead of focusing on what the task at hand was, which was whether or not AG Merrick Garland was going to be held in contempt of Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene started talking about Judge Merchan, which is why I asked her, do you know why we're here? And ultimately, it devolved into the debacle that it did. And the chairman actually broke the agreement that he made, which was that she was to be held to have her words taken down, which meant that she was then going to have to leave the committee, which would have helped everybody. He decided to change his ruling. And I decided to inquire through a point of inquiry about what could and couldn't be said.
So, Congresswoman, I wanted to kind of change the topic for a second and talk about a New York Times report that an upside-down flag was flown outside the home of Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, critically, and the time is important, in January of 2021, flown between the days of the January 6th attack on the Capitol and President Biden's inauguration. This inverted flag is assembled by protesters. It was used by them that year who were contesting the results of the 2020 election. Justice Alito blaming his wife, saying he had no involvement in flying the flag. But I wanted to ask you, especially considering the fact that it's total chaos all the time with the GOP in the House. We're now on the eve of another presidential election with a legitimate fear of more violence because January 6th was not an aberration. Apparently, it's the norm for them. When you hear that somebody as high up as a Supreme Court justice is flying a flag upside down, showing tacitly support for insurrectionists, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I take issue with the fact that we have all of these grown men in powerful positions that are pointing to their wives and saying, hey, look over there, don't look at me. I want to introduce them to a song by Frankie Beverly and Mays called We Are One. So that's number one. Number two, you know what? We actually just rolled out our court reform task force, myself, Jamie Raskin, Madeline Dean, Adam Schiff, and Hank Johnson, we absolutely have 3 pieces of legislation that we believe should be moving, and we want to better educate our colleagues in the House about why this should be a bipartisan issue. We need reform, and we needed it not now, but yesterday. Right now, we're going to push forward and try to make sure that there's some accountability and there's some ethics. Obviously, you know, even you don't have to be a lawyer to know that there should be a recusal on any of the January 6 things that are going to come before this court by not only Alito, but also by Clarence Thomas. Because again, he has a wife, and I don't know why and how they're trying to separate the two. But he has a wife that was absolutely engaged in the actions and the disgrace that took place on January 6th.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, it is always so good to have you here. Thanks for joining us, especially after that dust-up that you had during that committee hearing. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, too.